The highest virtue is not conscious of itself as virtue, and therefore really is virtue. Lower virtue is so self-conscious that it's not virtue. In other words, when you breathe, you don't congratulate yourself on being virtuous. But breathing is a great virtue. It's living.
2,424 years ago, Socrates held a conversation with a slave owner called Meno. In this conversation, retold by Plato in his dialogue titled Meno, both the philosopher and the slave owner talk about virtue. Learning seems impossible, and seeking knowledge seems futile, for either I know a thing or I don't know it. If I do know it, then I can't learn it, because I already know it. If I don't know it, then I can't learn it, because I don't know what it is I'm looking for knowledge about. This is the paradox of knowing, the conflict in front of Socrates and Meno. But if you ask questions in the right way, the person you ask will give you the true answer all by themselves. This example is explained by Socrates when he reminds Meno of when he taught his slave geometry without giving him any answers, but by only asking questions. It becomes quite difficult to know what questions to ask, and more difficult to know the definition of virtue. Meno suggests that virtue is a man being successful in society, a woman managing her household well, and that virtue depends on your position in life. But still, these are examples of virtue. Can't you obtain good things through unjust means? And if the opposite of good is evil, and evil is misery, and no one wants to be miserable, and misery is the opposite of happiness, and everyone desires happiness, so everyone desires good. But not everyone is virtuous, so virtue is not the desire to attain what is good. This is confusing, but as Socrates would say, I only know that I know nothing, so it's fair to be confused with our lack of the infinite knowledge that there is to know. What if virtue is knowledge? It seems right. However, if virtue is teachable, then why is it that virtuous people can have children who are not virtuous at all? Why wouldn't they teach them? So maybe virtue can't be taught, but then how do people become virtuous in the first place? If virtue isn't knowledge, and some people have virtue, then the reason they can't teach virtue is because they don't have an understanding, a true belief as to what makes their actions virtuous. A true belief is based in reason. True beliefs are more stable when it's knowledge. They're more reliable. We might not know what virtue is, but we do know that it is composed of true beliefs. And having the knowledge of virtue would be the purest form of any virtue known. Socrates believed that such knowledge belongs to God, and not to man. However, I suspect that this only means we can come to have knowledge of virtue, and as we approach it, we approach what can only be described as God.